Isabel moved with the bustling crowds of the city. She'd gotten used to everyone pushing, fighting to be the first to get to work and the first to get home. She let the crowd move her forward like the tide. As she came to the corner that led to her apartment, she glanced quickly across the street. There sat an old man, a beggar. Almost everything about him was nondescript. He wore torn beige clothes, and his backpack next to him was old and gray. He had tufts of white hair and an inconsistent beard. There was one feature that drew her attention. His eyes were the watery blue of a blind person. No one paid him any attention. They just kept walking briskly by. "Hey, move it," someone said from behind as he shouldered past her. "Sorry," she called, but he already disappeared. She felt bad for the old blind man. No money, no home, and the loss of the most important sense. Before she even realized it, Isabel had decided to do something. She marched to a nearby Jamaican restaurant. She frequented it often. "Isabel," the owner said kindly as she entered. "The usual?" "Yeah, 2 orders, please." "Date tonight?" He smiled, revealing a few missing teeth. She knew he was asking for his own sake. He wasn't shy about his feelings towards her. Isabel found that entertaining. Something like that. She watched him scoop up the brown rice and beans, doused in a salty, tangy sauce. The heat from the boilers and the stove was warm and inviting. The cook's apron was spotted with sweat, and it beaded on his bald forehead and scalp. He put 2 freshly cooked pieces of fried chicken in each styrofoam container and added sugar-browned plantain on the side. Isabel took out her money to pay him. She took her plastic bag with "Thank you, thank you, thank you" written on it and walked back to the corner where she'd seen the old man. He still sat there, staring off into nothingness, unmoving. She crossed the street to him and approached him confidently. She'd never been shy. "Hello," he said, before she could say anything. He sniffed the air. "Smells delicious. I hope you brought some for me." "How'd you know I was coming to you?" asked Isabel. He simply smiled. He patted the side of the ratty green blanket next to him. She sat, staring out at the city in front of her. She took out both meals and handed him his. She gave him a plastic fork and knife and took hers out too. He waited for her to be ready to eat, placing his thin napkin on his lap. When she brought the fork to her mouth, he began his meal. She ate voraciously for a few minutes. She'd had a long day and was hungrier than she imagined. She turned to him and saw that he didn't eat the way she thought a homeless person would eat. He ate calmly. Each bite, he closed his eyes and chewed slowly and thoughtfully. She suddenly felt self-conscious for eating so fast. She forced herself to slow down. "Why bother closing your eyes if you're, Isabel began. "Blind?" the old man said and laughed. "I don't just eat to live. I taste my food. I notice how each flavor blends, how the 5 tastes work together to make this food the only thing in my world." They each chewed pensively for a few minutes. The old man began again. "You've brought me a wonderful meal. In exchange, I will show you a world everyone has forgotten." "What do you mean?" asked Isabel. The man remained silent. He cocked his head to the side and stared off to the left as if listening for something. She copied him. She couldn't hear anything but the bustling of traffic, the blaring of horns, and a million conversations for a few moments. Then she realized what the man was listening for. "The kids playing," she said. "Is that what you're listening to?" He only smiled. She listened again to their giggles. She couldn't see them, but she could hear girl and boy voices. "Yes, go, go!" cried one girl. "Block him!" cried a boy. Their giggles were amplified by the tall buildings. One group cheered. Another argued that they'd broken the rules. "They all sound so happy." She thought back to her childhood, to the days after school where she and her friends would play similar games. Isabel wondered if once the old man had done the same. She struggled to picture him younger. "Life is a balance," said the blind man. "One team wins, one loses, but they both go home satisfied." Follow what I do." He began to audibly sniff the air. She did the same. Her nose was flooded with the scents of the city, the sweetness of roasted nuts, the saltiness of pretzels, the exhaust from cars, the sanitized smell of shops selling leather and clothes, the smell of old coffee beans, and the whiffs of garbage. She wrinkled her nose at the last one. He seemed to notice. Not all the smells are good, but they are all needed for the city to be itself. He put his hand against the stone behind them. She did the same. They followed the lines of the places where the stones had been glued together, rough under their fingertips. They put their hands against the cool stone. Through the smoothness, they felt the vibration of the city like a heartbeat. "This building was here before us and will outlive us," the blind man said. "If the city is a body, the buildings are the organs. We are only blood cells, rushing around and maintaining it. Unlike important organs, you can lose a little blood." "But humans made all of this," replied Isabel. "It couldn't exist without us." The old man sighed. "It's an amazing achievement in our eyes, but to the universe, it's unremarkable. Why do you think that is?" Isabel took a moment to think. "I guess it's because the universe has existed for billions of years. Why would it care about humans? We've existed for the blink of an eye. We consider ourselves so important, and the things we create monumental. In reality, we are as insignificant as a blade of grass. Then what's the point of doing anything if we don't matter?" "That isn't what I said," he replied. "We are insignificant, but without us, our universe couldn't exist the way it does. Those who cannot see aren't the only ones who are blind. People have forgotten their place in this world. The human mind is bursting with ideas, simultaneously wishing to understand everything and believing it knows more than anything else. It's time we admit to ourselves that we might never have all the answers." "But that's frustrating," said Isabel. "Why?" asked the old man. "Why be angry at something we can't change? Why do we need to understand everything? Why can't we just experience life? Why can't we use the gift of senses and a sharp mind to enjoy our time, however short?" He took his hand off the stone. He picked up his fork and returned to his meal. They finished eating in silence, listening again to the sounds of the city, smelling the scent of the chicken and rice.